Got you. So then you, from there, you kind of kept the reading going, and then what kind of got you into creating like content on the internet? Like what inspired you to kind of start doing that?
So I would say, so I actually took, once I graduated high school, I took a couple years off of reading. So I
Okay.
hadn't read for a really long time. And then the end of COVID, like COVID was starting to come to an end, and there was a girl in my real life that I saw, and she was posting pictures of books she was reading. And I remember being like, man, I haven't read in so long. So I went and bought one of the book recommendations, and it was actually a thriller. And it was so good that I kept running into like my room that my husband was playing a video game in.
Mhm.
And I was like, I gotta tell you about this part. And then I'd run back and I'd start reading, and I'd come back and I'd be like, I gotta tell you about this. And so I just kept doing that. And eventually, my husband was on TikTok before I
Oh,
was.
wow.
And he discovered Kierra Lewis. And he was like, Sarah, this is like you. He was like, this is what you do to me. And he's like, so you should do this to other people. Stop doing it to just me. And I was like, no. And I was so intimidated because she was so vibrant. She was so fun. And I was like, I don't know if I could actually do that on the internet, though, because the internet's sometimes, it's not the nicest place always. And I was like, just because it, rocks for her doesn't mean it would for me. And I'm like, what if people don't like it? And I was always in my head. But eventually there was just one book where I was like, I have to talk because my husband doesn't care. I love him to death and he loves me, but he just doesn't care. And I was like, I need somebody who cares. And I just did it.
Yeah. So when you're first making content, were your content a little bit more laid back, or how did or did you always?
I was not always
Yeah.
swimming. It was very laid back because I didn't know what to do when you first start doing something, especially when it's so intimidating. And there's the potential. I never thought it would grow, but there's always a potential that it can. And I was like, I don't know. And I was so hesitant. I remember I watched that first video back of me talking about a book, and I'm just like so quiet, and I'm holding it, and I'm like, I don't know what to say, to what I am now after just getting so comfortable and so into my own. It's very different what I was doing then versus how I'm doing it now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are, even like with us as content creators, like you come into the book space, you have like a book or two that you really are passionate about. You may share about it, but it might not be the books everyone's reading. But over time, you kind of, find your voice and find your stride, and you do things that no matter what is important to you, right? No matter what, like content creators, that's how you are. That's when you are your best, when you're just authentic, true to what it is. And like, so when watching your content, you can just see that you're not really, it's like there's like I said, very authentic in the way you present yourself and the way you talk about books, and the fearlessness that comes with it, because there is a huge amount of fearlessness that comes with posting online. So like, how was that, like how'd you get over that part of being a content creator?
I think it was the repetition of doing it. And I think a big one is just you finally realize that I really hit a point where I realized that people are going to like you or they're not going to like you. And I am never going to diminish myself or my light or make myself less present to appease other people. And once I really came into that and realized that for the most part, like it's on my phone, it's my space. I want to create an atmosphere that I want to be in. And the moment I realize that I'm creating a space that I love to see, the people who also love to be in that type of space just found me.
No, that's a well said. You find your tribe. So speaking of that, like how do you approach building your community, engaging with your audience, that whole spot?
It's just like having a bunch of best friends. And that's how I love to look at it. We're just all a bunch of best friends. We all like to read the same stuff. It's almost like a giant book club. I start reading things that people read years before me, and then they get to chat about it with me. So building a community is just, it's all organic. It was nothing I ever set out to do. It just started happening, and you just start finding your people, and it just grows. And it's just like a giant best friend group.
If you enjoyed that clip, make sure you head over to www.bookumapp.com to download our app so you can connect with your favorite bookish content creators, start conversations, and start your own book club.